Jeff, thank you very much. And at 7:50, we are now in the garden this morning. Joining us this Saturday, our gardening expert, Dabney Morgan. Good to see you live in the studio again. Happy St. Patrick's. Look at you, covered in green.
Got to have green on today. I wish I had green in my hand. Now, that's the real green.
That's the green you want. You're not dropping any hints, are you? You're not going to get any from me, I'll tell you that much. Dabney, good to have you here. We got a lot of folks who have been asking questions all morning. They want to hear from you, so let's go right to the phones right now. Sandy's in Virginia Beach. Hey, Sandy, good morning. What's your question for Dabney?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a mystery critter that is eating only my lavender pansies. I have lots of dark purple pansies. It doesn't touch them. And it takes a chomp out of the bud before it blooms so that when the flower opens, it looks like, you know, it was cut out like you used to do paper dolls. I thought it might be rabbits, but I put them up on a tall table, and it got to them anyway.
The one possibility, if you had it up on table, and then, of course, we know it wasn't something hopping along like a rabbit, it may be slugs. Believe it or not, with this warm weather we're having, slugs are a nocturnal bug that comes out of the ground. It's kind of like a snail, actually. I say bug, but like a snail. They come out of the ground at night, eat, and go back down to the ground. So try some bug bait and see if that doesn't take care of it, because we have had some slug damage in the past week or so.
All right, interesting. All right, let's stay in Virginia Beach. Go to Harriet now. She's on the line. Harriet, good morning. What's your question for Dabney?
I've had Pachysandra growing around my house for years, and this year it's a very pale green in the front. I mean, it looks like it's sick. Could there be some nutrition that I need to give to this plant so that it'll propagate and do better?
You can try. The other problem with Pachysandra and a lot of these ground covers, they get so thick that we get, unfortunately, a disease in them called Phytophthora, and it's basically a type of root rot. Make sure there's not any irrigation. As your ground covers get thick, if we get a lot of rain or if we do a lot of watering, that's what causes the problem. There's a couple of fungicides on the market you can treat with. One that I'm familiar with is called Agrifos. It's going to be difficult to find, but some of the garden centers do carry it. It's put out by Monterey, but fungicide for Phytophthora, I would really recommend more than even feeding. If you want to feed, it doesn't hurt, but use a granular fertilizer, not a liquid, because the liquid just adds that much more water.
All right, Paul's in Eatonton, North Carolina. Paul, good morning. What's your question for Dabney? Paul, you still there?
Yeah.
Go ahead. What's your question for Dabney?
I got a nectarine tree. I want to know when to spray it for bugs, and when I can spray, when I can cut my red tips back.
Okay, red tips can be cut back this time of year. We can cut those back anytime during the season up till the 1st of August. But if you've been having a problem with the leaf spots on your red tips, once you prune them and they start to put on new growth, you need to treat for it with a systemic fungicide for that. Nectarines, where you are, I've got an idea they've already bloomed out, so we can't do our pruning at this point, and we cannot do our dormant spray. But once the fruit sets, the blooms drop and the fruit sets, then you can start spraying your in-season spray. You can use a natural or a chemical, either one. And generally, we'd like to spray about every 7 to 14 days for about a five successive sprayings. Then that way, that takes care of the majority of the problem.
All right, real quick, Dabney, question on our Facebook page, when to prune crepe myrtles and roses?
Crepe myrtles we can still do now. On your roses, depending on where you are, a lot of roses have started putting on new growth, not the little leaves, but actual growth. Those you can cut back maybe a third of the way. If they've just got the little leaves out on them, we can go ahead and cut them back as severely as we want to do them. Now, those hybrid roses do better by doing pruning because keeping them closer to the ground, they tend to have better blooms, better color. If you're doing the ground covers or the knockout, some of these bush-type roses, they really only have to be pruned to shape.
Man, we kept you working this morning. Dabney Morgan, always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. We are back with a final check of your forecast. Stay with us.